people can go down another aisle or prayer. And that row, people go down, yes. I guess we have a few minutes left here. I thought it sounded good. So just keep up what you do. I know it was difficult. It's easy to see, but I think the more I learn, the more I need it.
Thank you so much for a great start to the service. Hey, Charlie, how are you? Me too. Well, I'll begin as usual, even though that was a great start, by saying that we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Also want to begin as usual by welcoming all of you to this place, all of your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are. And this includes those of you who are joining us in person today, including those who might be joining us more recently or even for the first time. You're equally as welcome and appreciated. And it also is true for those of you who are streaming with us. We're so glad to know that so many of you are with us as well. So thanks to everyone for being here. I do have a couple of announcements before we greet one another. One, we are having a new member orientation at 12:30. If you have been thinking about becoming a member of the church, then you can attend this. It will be live streamed as well, so if you want to attend via stream, just let us know that you did. And if you maybe have been a member for a while but want kind of a refresher or interested in learning more about what Unitarian Universalism is, about the history of our congregation, what it means to be a member, feel free to stay for that as well. And then I also wanted to give a special welcome to Terry and Susan Anderson, who are here in person joining us all the way from Edmonton, Alberta. Terry, at least, is one of our usual Zoomers and streamers, and he actually often hosts the Zoom meeting and is the one who got it started during our early service. And we've become, I think, good friends these past couple of years, as Terry has expressed some of the same concerns that I have for what's going on with our liberal religion these days. And it's been wonderful. They're staying with us for the weekend, and Terry's going to play the dulcimer a little bit later for us, and we got to hear him practice a lot in the house. And anyway, he's just been such a friend and a lot of help in what we're doing and what I'm doing, and I really appreciate that. And Susan, it's been great getting to know you too. Another not lifelong, actually, I should not say that, but somebody who's gone somewhat of a similar journey as me, as a former conservative Christian into Unitarianism, and has been very active in Unitarianism, including at the Westwood Unitarian congregation. Now, not too long ago, it seems you were president of the board there. Is that right? Yeah. So it was great to have you both, and I know folks will look forward to saying hi to you, and we get to hear Terry's craft here in a bit. So thank you. Okay, let's take a few moments to greet one another, say hi to those that you know and look forward to seeing each Sunday. Make some new friends today, and if you're streaming with us, text somebody you care about. Okay, next time. All right, good. Okay. As always, more time for visiting during our social hour, but let's move forward now by lighting our chalice. The chalice is the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection this morning is from author Michael Austin's most recent book entitled, "We Must Not Be Enemies." You are wrong. You are profoundly and disturbingly wrong about a spectacularly large number of things. You accept facts that are not facts, values that are incompatible with each other, and a fair number of truly dumb ideas about how to change the world. If you ever really understood the extent of your wrongness, you would never trust another word you said. You need not feel shamed about this. I am wrong too. Everybody is wrong about a lot of things. Given the number of things that all of us believe or do not believe to be facts, the number of things that we consider or do not consider valuable, and the number of policies that we think or do not think will work, there is no possible way that anybody is going to be right about everything, or even most things. You already accept this about 99.9999% of the human population. You know perfectly well that everybody else is wrong about a lot of things. And if you really think about it, you will realize that you are probably not the only person in the world who is always right.
We can applaud that.
But I hope I'm right about one thing. Spring is coming, I hope. And tomorrow, that's right. Monday is right. That's the vernal equinox, and we are celebrating it today. If you look to the right of the pulpit, you will see that we have put up our spring banner, and we are going to sing our little ritual song that we do at that time of year. Number 73, if you want to look at your hymnals, chant for the season, we'll do the spring verse. Please rise as you're willing and able.
For our candles of care today, thank you. We want to begin with a candle for church member Ann Wenger, whose mother, Joan McGarry Conway, passed away recently. Joan lived in Richmond, Virginia, and died peacefully at home at age 97. So, lived a long, good life, but as I have discovered, sometimes the longer people are with us, the harder it is to say goodbye. So Please keep Anne and Mike and their entire family in your thoughts at this time. We also want to begin, as we have been, with a candle on behalf of the people of Ukraine and that part of the region that are suffering the worst impacts of the violence there, as well as the people in Turkey and Syria who are suffering from, I don't even think we can say recovering yet from the devastating earthquakes there. And then a candle acknowledging the 20th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, our nation's invasion of this country, something that was called a preemptive strike. They hadn't done anything. It meant they hadn't actually done anything to them, but we just wanted to stop them before they might, despite the fact that the world community, the United Nations investigators repeatedly said there are no weapons of mass destruction there, and yet we were fed the lie that they were, and the news media beat the drums of war, and off we went to wreak devastation in that country. And it's very difficult for us to be very critical of Putin when we haven't acknowledged how similar these two wars are. So I want to kindle a candle commemorating this shameful incident in American history, what I consider a shameful incident in our history, and a light acknowledging our awareness of that. And as I told a group from Afghanistan years ago who suffered the impacts of that war in Iraq as well as their own, when they were just outraged, I was among the first Americans they met, and they laid into me. And I said, I'm sorry. I can't speak for my whole country, but I can tell you there were a lot of us that did not want this, that we protested in advance of it and after it, and I'm sorry. So, I'm sorry. Well, let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to play this instrument. This is a hammered dulcimer, and if any of you are not familiar with it, I'd love to show it to you after the service. Getting a little feedback here. Okay. The tune I'm going to play is a song for springtime. It's the Bells of Norwich by Sidney Carter. And it celebrates a very remarkable woman, Julian of Norwich. And Julian lived at the end of the 14th and into the early parts of the 15th century, and that was the time of the Black Death. And Julian herself contacted the bubonic plague, and while she was very near to death, she had a number of visions and revelations, and she wrote these down, which was published as a book, the Revelations of Divine Love. And that became the very first book written by a woman that was published in English. And another her context of when she lived during what's now known as the Little Ice Age, and it was a time of massive crop failures throughout Europe. And when you're a peasant farmer, the springtime is the hardest time of the year because you've eaten up your fall crops and there's yet no food coming from the fields at that time. And so hope was really in short supply in that time. And so she was known for being able to give hope and give joy to people. And the other amazing thing about Julian was she's an anchorite. And an anchorite was a woman who petitioned to the bishop to build a cell on the outside of a church, her church. And the cell had two windows. One window so that she could look in and participate in the services, and a second window so that people could come and talk to her and give her food, and she was renowned for being able to bring comfort to people. But notice I didn't say anything about a door, because there was no door. There was a requiem mass held for the anchorite before she went into the cell, and she never came out. And so for her to be able to not only have joy in her own heart, but to be able to share it with others was really an amazing feat. So this is a song celebrating Julian of Norwich. Loud are the bells of Norwich, and the people come and go. Here by the Tower of Julian I tell them what I know. That all shall be well, I'm telling you, let the winter come and go. For all shall be well again, I know. Lying out the bell love like a golden daffodil is pushing through the snow. Love like a golden daffodil is lord of all I know. So ring out ye bells of Norwich, and let the winter come and go. For all shall be well again, I know. Ring out ye bells of Norwich, and let the winter come and go. For all shall be well again, I know.
Thank you so much, Terry. Kids, come on down for our Time for All Ages. You can get a peek at this cool instrument while I tell you a story that's even older than the story about Julian of Norwich. All right, come on up, Theo. I like the way you're walking. right. So for everyone in this room, hi Jude, it's been a long time, good to see you. For everyone in this room, there is a story about the day you were born. You may or may not know that story, but I'm pretty sure that there were smiles and tears and lots of big feelings and lots of hope for a baby's future. But today, I'm going to tell you a birth story that's not your ordinary baby in a hospital scene. You see, this story took place along a riverbank in ancient Greece. The Greek people worshipped lots of different gods and goddesses, and one of their most important and most feared was, do you know, Max? Zeus, that's right, the almighty Zeus. Well, Zeus got word that one of his wives, named Metis, would have a child who would be so powerful he would be overturned. And Zeus did not want to be overturned, so what did he do? He turned his wife into a fly and swallowed her. Naturally. And just as naturally, Metis lived on in her husband's stomach, and the baby grew inside him too. Metis wanted to give her baby a fighting chance for this world, so she made armor and weapons for them. All the banging and clanging of the metal armor and weapons was giving Zeus a really bad headache. But instead of taking some Tylenol with a big glass of water, he went to the blacksmith, who cracked his skull open with a hammer. Because he needed to discover what all this commotion was. Well, what happened next was truly epic. The baby emerged from Zeus's skull as a full-grown warrior woman, complete with the armor and weapons her mother had made for her. Her name was Athena, and she became everything her father feared, a goddess who to this day represents war, wisdom, the arts, democracy, and freedom. And now join me in singing our children out to Children's Chapel.
As we move into a time of meditation, you are invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish, take a few deeper breaths, and reflect on these words from 19th century German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Every true faith is infallible. It performs what the believing person hopes to find in it, but it does not offer the least support for the establishing of an objective truth. Here, the ways of men divide. If you want to achieve peace of mind and happiness, have faith. If you want to be a disciple of truth, then search.
For our reading today, I'm going to read from one of my favorite modern mystics. Julian of Norwich was an older mystic. This is a modern mystic, John Denver, a creation mystic, And since we're talking about ultimately reality today, I want to read the lyrics to one of my favorite of his songs called To the Wild Country. There are times I fear I lose myself and don't know who I am. I get caught up in the struggle and the strain. With my back against a stone wall, my finger in the dam, I'm losing strength and going down again. When I take a look around me, my eyes can't find the sun. There's nothing wild as far as I can see. Then my heart turns to Alaska. In freedom on the run, I can hear her spirit calling me. To the mountains, I can rest there. To the rivers, I will be strong. To the forest, I'll find peace there. To the wild country where I belong. Oh, I know sometimes I worry on worldly ways and means, and I can see the future killing me. On a misbegotten highway of prophecies and dreams, a road to nowhere and eternity. And I know it's just changes and mankind marching on. I know we can't live in yesterday, but compared to what we're losing and what it means to me, I'd give my life and throw the rest away. To the mountains, I can rest there. To the rivers, I will be strong. To the forest, I'll find peace there. To the wild country where I belong.
This morning's choral piece is actually a Mennonite hymn, and it's a walking hymn to take people into spring. The chorus is very simple, and I'm sure you'll be able to climb on with us when I turn to you and we can sing the choruses together.
We
So before I begin, I want to try a little experiment here. I spontaneously tried the first service. I'm going to open this hymnal. I'm going to put it on the top of the pulpit, okay? And I want you to use your combined thought power, everybody streaming with us live, everybody in the room, to concentrate on turning one page. They're very light pages, okay? So concentrate really hard. I'm going to give you 30 seconds starting now. Okay, time's up. Now, you want me to show you how to do it? That is how we get things done. There has been a long struggle between those who want to face reality and those who want to frame it. The wish to face it has been around at least since the early Greek philosophers 2,600 years ago, the pre-Socratics you hear me talking a lot about, who were the first thinkers we know of who attempted to explain the world in natural rather than supernatural terms. And that wasn't very long ago, considering that modern humans have been here a little over 200,000 years. The wish to frame reality has been around a lot longer, perhaps as long as there have been minds capable of pondering what and why things are the way they are. These explanations, based on supernatural myths about magical deities, spirits, and anthropomorphized animals, have predominated our thinking about the world throughout most of human history, and still do for many of us, if not most of us. Today, however, our superstitious thinking must at least attempt to account for what has been proven by modern science and rational thinking, at least that worldview. Even if only to explain it away, we have to cope with it. In his recent book, Rationality, Steven Pinker says that this is possible because people divide their worlds into two zones. One consists of the physical objects around them, the other people they deal with face to face, the memory of their interactions, and the rules and norms that regulate their lives. People have mostly accurate beliefs in this zone, he says, and they reason rationally with it. Within this zone, they believe there's a real world, and that beliefs about it are true or false, and they have no choice. That's the only way to keep gas in the car, money in the bank, and kids' clothed and fed. Call it the reality mindset. The reality mindset. He calls the other zone the mythology mindset, based not on immediate experience, but upon the distant past, the unknowable future, faraway peoples and places, remote corridors, empowered, the microscopic, the cosmic, the counterfactual, the metaphysical. Pinker says belief in these zones are narratives, which may be entertaining or inspiring or morally edifying. Whether they are literally true or false is the wrong question. The function of these beliefs is to construct a social reality that binds the tribe or the sect and gives it moral purpose. And keep in mind, the mythology mindset or zone is not limited to origin stories about how we got here or how the stars ended up in the sky. Many of today's myths are unsubstantiated and unprovable conspiracy theories that originated from little more than somebody's fearful stream of consciousness, as with whomever the anonymous Q is, who started QAnon Yet millions have come to embrace the unfounded conspiracy theories created, just as Pinker says, which created, just as Pinker says, a social reality that gives that QAnon sect both a tribe to belong to and a moral purpose by which to live. That's the benefit of these falsehoods. Placing the mythological mindset over the reality mindset is always about maintaining control. On an individual level, accepting myths enables us to feel like we can control what happens in our uncertain world and keep status in our community by accepting its common beliefs, its dogmas, and its creeds. On a social level, the mythology mindset helps a few people maintain power over most everyone else, except the outliers and dissenters they and their minions must occasionally deal with. The result is that we live in communities that, by definition, since they are held together by commonalities, gravitate towards myth rather than reality. Our societies, that is, are delusional, which is the condition of not adequately accepting reality. This explains why throughout human history we have engaged in religious and ideological wars, condemned heretics and blacklisted dissenters, and today use the news and the social media to demonize and cancel those our ideological and identity tribes disagree with. All of this is based, right, we're desperate to save our ideas and help them dominate. Nobody will get in the way. And all of this is based upon the general preference for the mythology mindset over the reality mindset. As somebody once said, "My mind is made up, please don't bother me with the facts." I actually tried to figure out who said that, and it's attributed to so many people. Nobody knows, but I'm going to say Mark Twain. That sounds like Mark Twain. So Mark Twain once said, "My mind is made up. Please don't bother me with the facts." And what this implies is that our ideas and our stories about the world are far more important to many of us than is the world itself. Classical psychology refers to this as the omnipotence of thought, the false belief that we can control the world or even fashion it with our minds. But we can't, right? In his book, Dogma as Compulsion, classical psychologist Theodore Reich wrote that the impression of the miraculous is dependent upon the psychical process by which a situation is deprived of its natural character, determined by the laws of nature, and transformed by the belief in the omnipotence of thought into a supernatural situation. It's a mouthful. But that's why myths about the world, old and new, are believed by many to be more true than what they experience with their own eyes or their own senses. It's why many believe nonsense rather than sense, the supernatural rather than the natural. Additionally, there may be something innate about the information stored in our beliefs and our ideas, as is so of all information, that drives it to propagate and become dominant. Memes, as Richard Dawkins named them, behave the very same way as genes do. Today, vying for dominance in the gene pool, vying for dominance in the meme pool. Today, many experts have further begun to think in terms of information theory that the underlying structure beneath everything, memes, genes, molecules, and atoms included, are bits and qubits of information. that is the underlying nature of reality, information. That everything in the universe and the universe itself is comprised of information, and information, again, has this propensity to spread and become dominant. And it is actually, you might say, through the clash of different bits of information coming into contact with each other that evolution happens. Do you have a headache yet? Are you giving birth to Athena? So whatever the case, whatever the reason, whether we want our own ideas to become dominant so that we can maintain social status and control of the world or over others, or if the ideas we have themselves drive us to help them propagate, we often treat our ideas and our beliefs as if they were our offspring, whom we are compelled to help survive and thrive. We are instinctively driven to love and protect them. Somewhat ironically, we can turn to mythology itself to prove this point. Perhaps the most familiar of these myths is the Hebrew story of Adam and Eve. You will recall that Adam, the obvious male in the story, is not born, but fashioned by Yahweh out of mud. He's then put to sleep while Yahweh removes one of his ribs and makes Eve from it. Eve, the first woman. But this mythology, in which males give birth, Yahweh to Adam and Adam to Eve, is a reversal of what we know to be true in reality. What we know to be absolutely true and always true in reality, that the females of a species give birth. The myth versus the reality. At least the story does initially have Adam being formed of earth, which is the mother of all life. Indeed, the word mother comes from the same Greek word as matter. Matter is synonymous with mother. And matter, I will posit as a materialist, is reality. Another example is the Greek myth of Zeus, who, in a fit of anger, hurls a thunderbolt and kills Semele, who is pregnant with his child. And Zeus quickly rescues the fetus from the ashes, sews it into his thigh until it is ready to be born. So it is Zeus, the father, who gives birth to Dionysius, the god of wine, pleasure, and madness. In that order. There's also the myth that you heard a little bit ago of his daughter Athena, who is born fully grown from Zeus's forehead. There's a Greek drama centering on the trial of Orestes, who is accused of murdering his mother, in which Apollo uses the story of Athena to prove the accused's innocence. There she stands, Apollo says, the living witness, daughter of the Olympian Zeus, she who was never fostered in the dark womb. Yet such a child as no goddess could bring forth. From this, Apollo concludes the mother is no parent of that which is called her child. And the court finds the argument so convincing that Orestes is acquitted on the grounds that it would be impossible for him to kill his mother if he never had a mother to begin with. This third reversal myth in particular is particularly relevant because Athena, again, is born from Zeus's head. She is his brainchild. A metaphor of idealism. Idealism, the philosophy of Plato, is a metaphysic that continues to be taken seriously by many, if not most people, whether they know it or not. Idealism is the belief that reality is a realm of perfect ideas, and that the world we live in represents only an imperfect version of those real ideals. In other words, our ideas about the world are truer than our experience of the world. What we think inside our heads is truer than what is right in front of us. Despite the undeniability or the undeniability of reality in front of us, that only females give birth, we may embrace ideas that insist it is the Father, and that an invisible Father God is our Creator, not the Mother Earth from which we have truly evolved. This explains why industrialized Western society rooted in Christian theology has behaved so disdainfully toward the earth, because in our worship of the Father we have come to believe that we are separate from the earth, that she is no mother of ours. How can we kill her if she's not our mother? She's not our matera, our matter. And the earth, Mother Nature, Eve, the mother of all living things, the moist, muddy ground from which we are all born, is being desecrated by the untruths that spring from our heads and our refusal to face the very realities we are experiencing. For example, scientists began warning us and our leaders of the greenhouse gas effect more than 100 years ago as a result of industrialization, right? They knew our industrialized planet was beginning to warm up even then. And the environmental movement was born with the success of Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring in 1962, before I was born. Not Peggy, she was born then, but... Huh? Your face is not red? No. So it was in the mid-1970s that President Jimmy Carter publicly acknowledged climate change. In the 1970s. And initiated plans to reduce carbon emissions even then. He lowered the national speed limit to 55 miles per hour in an effort to help accomplish this. And he even put solar panels on the White House roof. And it was in 1979 when the first World Climate Conference took place in Geneva, 1979. Even I was born then. To find solutions, it says, to prevent potential man-made changes on climate that might be adverse to the well-being of humanity. We were facing reality. We were facing reality. And then tragically, just as soon as Ronald Reagan took office in 1980, he removed those solar panels. And the speed limit was eventually increased to 65, to 75 in some states, and as high as 80 in a few. The Republicans, perhaps for little more reason than their knee-jerk compulsion to disagree with their ideological opponents, those outside their tribe, went into full denial of reality mode, birthing nonsensical excuses from their foreheads to dissuade and prevent us from doing anything about the worst existential threat humanity has ever faced. First, they laughed at us and claimed global warming is a democratic hoax. Falsely claiming that there was lots of disagreement among scientists about it. There wasn't. Later, when it became too evident to wholly deny, they shifted that myth just a little bit. They tweaked it to claim instead that scientists disagree about the cause. They didn't. And even today, with the disastrous impacts of global warming right in front of us all, in more ways than we can even count now, they still do everything they can to prevent us from addressing it in meaningful ways. One of the first things Trump did, you will recall, when he took office, was to pull the U.S. out of the historic Paris Climate Agreement. This is so because to the Republican Party, at least in this case, matter does not matter. What matters most is their ideology, the brainchild they are driven to nurture and help become dominant, even if they are so obviously leading us all to doom. Imagine how much better the situation would be today if 45 years ago, these obstructionists trapped in the mythology mindset had put their faith in reality rather than in the omnipotence of their own thoughts. This is not to say that all of us don't ultimately function based upon our beliefs, but those beliefs ought to be based upon the reality mindset rather than unsubstantiated ideas that we hold because they give us a sense of belonging and a false sense of security and certainty in an uncertain world, in an insecure and uncertain world. Just this week I spoke with a fellow who told me about how China is taking over our country, passionately explaining in detail what it is they are secretly after. Yet he concluded by saying, "Now I don't have any evidence for this, but it's what I think." That's a brainchild, born from his own forehead rather than from reality, from mother, from matera, from matter, a belief without evidence, a belief that is not evident. And this is one of the means of telling whether someone, including ourselves, is operating from the reality mindset or the mythology mindset. The mythology mindset is quick to make statements or begin statements with, "I think," "I believe," "I feel," but seldom offers any reasons why it believes what it does, at least not reasons based on facts or empirical evidence. It is enough to merely present us with its beautiful, bouncing baby belief, newly born like Athena from one's forehead, disconnected from the hard labor of material reality. The reality mindset, on the other hand, has plenty of sound reasons for its beliefs precisely because it requires such evidence before it is even willing to entertain an idea. Again, as Pinker says, we children of the Enlightenment embrace the radical creed of universal realism. Right? What is real is not different for me than it is for you. We hold that all our beliefs should fall within the reality mindset. We care about whether our creation story, our founding legends, our theories of invisible nutrients and germs and forces, our conceptions of the powerful, our suspicions about our enemies are true or false. We care about those things. And by enlightenment, Pinker is referring to the tools that we developed only in recent centuries that have allowed the reality mindset to form to begin with. In addition to empirical science, Pinker says these tools include logic and critical thinking, probability, correlation, and causation, the optimal ways to adjust our beliefs and commit to decisions with uncertain evidence, and the yardsticks for making rational choices alone or with others. So we don't get caught up in groupthink. In short, the reality mindset never begins with "I think," "I believe," or "I feel," but by asking, what does the evidence tell me? As economist and philosopher John Maynard Keynes once said, "When the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do?" For the reality mindset requires that we allow the facts to shape our beliefs, not our beliefs to shape the facts. While it is true that we cannot manipulate the world with our minds, or at least not without using them to move our hands and our feet first, and that our minds ought to be shaped by reality, ideas do influence what we do with our hands and feet and bodies. And some ideas influence millions, even billions of people, whether they are based on reality or not. And some people are able to control others, sometimes thousands and millions, whether they are based on reality or not, simply by spreading their ideas. So the question before us all is, what kind of person do we want to be? Do we want to spend our lives using whatever lies we tell ourselves and others that help us feel a sense of control, or unethically to maintain control over others just because we can? Is that who we want to be? Do we want to risk living our lives inauthentically, having committed ourselves to fostering obvious lies just so that we can fit in with others? Do we want to live a lie, or a whole life full of lies, just because it feels better than facing reality? Do we want to squander this brief opportunity we have to experience something real? Do we want to spend our energy nurturing and protecting our brain children, the thoughts in our heads? Or do we want to pay attention to matter, to what really matters? To help ponder these questions, let me begin to close by briefly mentioning another myth from the ancient Hebrew tradition. After meeting and exchanging, after meeting an ever-changing entity in the form of a burning bush, Moses, who was to lead his people to freedom, asked to see the being's true form. Burning bush explains that it is not possible for someone to fully grasp its form while still alive, but asked Moses to shield himself in the shadows by ducking behind the cleft of a rock. And I will cover you with my hand until I've passed by, and then I will remove my hand, and you can check out my back. But my face will not be seen. So the entity allows Moses to see its backside, because this is the only way we can ever catch a glimpse of ultimate reality. By seeing what it leaves behind, the evidence. I think this myth is meant to help us admit that none of us can fully grasp or understand reality, that we're all wrong, nor even come closer to doing so. Yet we can understand a bit of it by observing its backside. In the Hebrew story, the backside is the Creator's creation. Earth, mother, matter. That's how we comprehend ultimate truth, by exploring the empirical world around us, which is the best we can know of reality, the closest we can come to understanding it. Theologians tend to define God a lot like that movie that just won all the Oscars. Everything, everywhere, all at once. If so, then God is just another word for reality, because reality is all there is. Whether we understand it all or not, whatever it is must be real. If it is, it's real. And reality, for this reason, is the most abundant resource in the universe, because it is everything, everywhere, all at once. And yet it is also life's rarest gem. because it is impossible for us to ever fully grasp it. Some people go their whole lives without catching a glimpse of reality. Like Moses, we can only catch glimpses of it by observing what it leaves behind: physical evidence, matter, Mother Earth, by taking advantage of material science, empiricism, and reason. Our ideas about the world, on the other hand, the dogmas and creeds and common beliefs, the brain children we care so much about and often devote our lives to, don't always reflect reality and are often a denial of it. And so the quest to know the truth requires that we first become true to ourselves. Sometimes, as we often hear it said, the truth hurts. But can the truth hurt any worse than the lies we cling to? What can hurt us more than the self-interested lies that have prevented us from addressing climate change before now? Lies may feel good, I should say, but in the end, they hurt us far worse than the truth. The truth shall set us free, but such freedom requires us to face reality, and reality is not our brainchild or our brain children. On the contrary, we are the children of reality, and this is the mother that we ought to love and devote our lives to. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, our closing song wants us to be moving forward into tomorrow, and I suggest that we step into the reality of that. So please rise to sing Don't Stop by Christine McReed. This was a popular song in the 70s.
Our benediction today is this well-known fundraising campaign slogan from the United Negro College Fund in the early 70s. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.
excited? A week, 2 weeks, next 2 weeks? Come back to Japan?
Come back, relax.
Oh, that's gonna be so nice. You're gonna be there for a whole week?
No, well, every Sunday come back
So
Saturday.
are her other friends? Because you said you had a gig down there. Are the two others going down? Or just the two of you? Oh, fun. So you're performing all right.
And then she's coming back. I live with This is the only
What? What's in Rhode Island?
I mean,
Was she met in Mexico?
someone that she was with probably 20, 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Had she talked to the cats about that yet?
Talk to who?
The cats?
Yeah. She says the girls love him, so.
So, oh,